It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That is, as always, karting with a K. Like their Facebook page for updated information on everything that's going on at the track. You can like them on YouTube and catch all the videos, including the front stretch shows that are posted about every Sunday morning, but sometimes we get a little delayed. Like this week, there was an issue with the recording at the station, so it took me a couple more days to get it posted. But nonetheless, it does get posted eventually, and you can go back and listen to all of the shows. That is, if you subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page and like it, and then you'll get updates on those videos. Joining me, as always, my co-host extraordinaire, Dirk. How you doing, sir?
Oh, we're a little under the weather. I think got me a little sinus deal going on after getting that little bit of moist rain over at Iowa Speedway, I think.
Well, that was a heck of a weekend there, wasn't it? What'd you think of your first time there for the NASCAR? And you'd been there a couple of times, haven't you?
I've been to the track before, but never at this capacity as far as being, media center and that type of stuff. But I do like the Speedway, always have.
Turned out to be a heck of a race.
It was a great race. The guys we interviewed and stuff did all right. They kind of fared where they should have.
I thought for a minute there Brendan had that. I thought, here we go. He may actually get this, but
you can just stretch 20 laps.
I know, that was a long ways to go. And you knew they knew it by when he came in with about 10 to go. They were like, we're not going to make it. We better come in. And then Chase Elliott getting so close to that win. But good job for Chris Buescher pulling out the win with the late race restart. And Chase kind of, I liked it over the MRN radios when I was listening to it. They said, well, how do you want to lose it, Chase? Do you want to lose it by coming down pit road, or do you want to lose it by staying out? Because whatever you do, they're going to do the opposite. And so that's kind of the way it rolled out. But very interesting that, who was the one that got into the little argument there with the driving the 33 car? Or no, the 42 car. Got into a little bit of a tiff with J.J. Yaley.
Poole.
Yes, Brendan Poole. That was interesting and out of nowhere and very blatant.
That's why I said right when he did it, he just punted him because that was right in front of me.
Yeah, you were sitting along the backstretch watching the race. Great view from where you were sitting, and it happened right in front of you, like you said. And you go back and watch the video, and it's one of those. Brendan didn't even try to deny it. He goes, my court, blah, blah. Nope. And he goes, well, I got him. It was payback. I got him, and he was escorted to the NASCAR hauler and pulled off the track and so. But good weekend over at Iowa Speedway. I'll tell you one last thing. You and I kind of talk about our media passes and media credentials, and we talk about the different things that we get to do. One thing that is interesting for fans to be able to understand, there is very little difference between my media pass, Dirk and I's media pass, and your hot pass. And you could purchase hot passes online, and you get right up and close with these race drivers. There's hot passes down at Kansas, and then there's fan walk passes at Iowa Speedway. It's well worth the dollars. I don't know how many friends I had both weekends that texted me and said, I can't believe how much fun I had this weekend. It was just, since we got to the track that morning to when we were driving home, it was just an experience after experience after experience.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's your first time.
Yeah.
It'll grab your senses and take you for a ride. Now, once you've been there 3, 4, 10 times, it's a little bit different unless something new's going on or they've changed the cars or something like that. But
NASCAR never changes these things.
No.
Which, by the way, that's something we'll get into here in a little bit in turn number one is aero packages. Sounds like they're on their way out the door for 2016, and they're going to get a whole new set for 2016.
Yeah, that'll be the day. All they need to do is change one thing, and that's take away that splitter.
Yeah, they love that splitter, though. And thank God it doesn't look like it looked when it first came out with the beginning of Gen 5 car. That was ugly.
But that just catches all that air from going underneath the car, and that's where the aero dependency starts at, right on that nose.
So we'll talk about some of that stuff coming up in today. We've got a heck of a show lined up for you. I can't even believe we spent 5 minutes opening up the show. Coming up right now in turn number 2, Ron Capps is going to join us from the NHRA Mellow Yellow Series. The Kansas Nationals have been going on Friday and yesterday, and they're continuing today. You can catch all of the action down at Topeka, Kansas, at Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas.
Current funny car point leader.
I got a 21-point lead over Hagen. I know so little about these that I don't even know who Hagen is.
Matt Hagen, another funny car racer.
But all the action kicks off today at 9 a.m. So right when we wrap up off the show, people are going to start heading down there for the sportsman eliminations. Then it's pre-race ceremonies, the nitro elimination round 1 at 11. About every hour, there's another elimination round going on for something, and there's so much racing going on down there.
And if you go to that race, you will be amazed if it's your first time at the fact that these nitro cars, they only get 75 minutes to rebuild that motor and have that car back in line ready to race again.
Wow.
And that's if the motor completely blows up and they have to change motors. They get 75 minutes.
Let's see. It takes me longer to rotate my tires, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Do you know what your tires are?
No.
As compared to the box on your pickup.
I do not know what size of my tires are. I do not know that, unfortunately. Now I'm going to have to go look. Great. Thanks for pointing that out, Dirk. But anyway, so the NHRA Kansas Nationals going on today. We'll talk to Ron Capps coming up in turn number 2. Now in turn number 3, we're going to talk with Cody Ledger, Code Red Cody Ledger. Cody's going to come on and give us a preview of the Charlie Clark Memorial tonight at I-80 Speedway. Obviously, the Charlie Clark Memorial, big race for A-mods and B-mods, but they're also bringing out the Nebraska 360s. And boy, Cody put a licking on the field, including one of my favorite sprint car drivers, Jack Dover, the last time the Nebraska 360s were out at I-80 Speedway. So we're going to talk to him about that win and how he's going to do it again tonight. Then in turn number 4, we're going to continue getting you ready for the Charlie Clark Memorial. Joe Kaziski's going to try to join us. We're going to see if Joe's got time. He's got a busy day today, so we'll see if we can get him in and talk to him in turn number 4. And then we'll preview the FedEx 400. Benefiting Autism Speaks at Dover next weekend. Obviously, the Coca-Cola 600 is tonight. A lot. Man, there is so much racing going on today. I think it kicks off with the NHRA Kansas Nationals. Then there's the Indianapolis 500 that we're praying that everyone comes out safe. That's been a mess down there the last week and a half. Then you've got the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then you've got the Charlie Clark Memorial at I-80 Speedway. So there's just so much racing action to go on today. And then obviously tomorrow, one of my more favorite holidays, Memorial Day, the day we get to honor those that never came home from foreign affairs. So
yeah, not just take a day off work.
Exactly. That's it's been one of those things that's been going around Facebook, and I normally I hate those things, but it's right. It's not just a 3-day weekend for you to do for you to enjoy an extra day off. It's a day to kind of remember those that didn't come home, and there's been a lot of them. 1.3 million American soldiers have died in the theater of war. I looked that up the other day. It's a lot of people dying for freedom. So remember that tomorrow when you can. All right. We're almost through turn number 1, and we really haven't talked about a lot of stuff today. Let's talk about the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. With being a former NASCAR Camper World Truck Series official, I imagine you officiated a race or two at the home of NASCAR?
Yeah, I worked Charlotte. I never did have to work the 600, but I worked the Showdown and, of course, truck races there. Pretty much a carbon copy of your Atlanta or Texas tracks, with the dogleg front straightaway. Very similar setups. The key or the biggest thing on this race is they start when it's light out and they finish when it's dark out. So the track goes through several adjustments, along with the biggest being the actual surface temperature and what it's going to do to the tires going through.
So that's things that crew chiefs are going to have to keep up on. Is that adjustable track bar going to come in very handy today for drivers?
It just depends on how much they're missing their adjustments by. If they're, just a couple thousandths, they can go ahead and adjust that bar. And again, it's usually to bring the setup back because they overdid it. Mm-hmm. But if they're just a little bit off, those guys are going to be trying everything because it's a pretty prestigious race to win.
And a very long race to win. I'm not entirely sure what we're in for today as far as racing action. Honestly, the All-Star race, not that great. I mean, once whoever got out in front, it was really tough to get by him. They talked about it with Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch. Brad Keselowski said, I think Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch had the better cars. I think they had 4/10 to 5/10 faster than everyone else, but they can't get by the leader. Yep. And that's going to be a real problem today. And that's honestly going to be a problem that's going to plague NASCAR until they decide to address this aero package that once you suck up to that leader and all of a sudden you hit this giant wall of air that you can't get by them, there's not going to be much good racing action.
Well, as long as the leader does a good job of blocking or, making sure that they stay in that dirty air, if the leader tries to go all the way down to the bottom and they get a good run at the top and pull even with them, they'll get by him. Mm-hmm. And now the shoe's on the other foot. But that's why you see the leaders, when somebody's approaching them, they end up a lane and a half or so off the bottom, so they can jump up to the top if they need to, or they can crawl back down to the bottom. But, they're effectively putting that dirty air on that other car.
And that's a real breaker for the second placeman wanting to get by. And as much as you want to kind of talk about, there's more passes back in the field, the camera's on the leaders. And that's where the ratings come from. If you're just watching Denny Hamlin or Kevin Harvick or Kurt Busch or Jr., if you're just watching them put up laps and they're a second and a half, 2 seconds, 3 seconds in front of everybody else, you're going to continue to see the ratings that you've been seeing the last couple of weeks, which on Fox Sports 1 have been absolutely horrific.
Well, the passing back in the pack, too. Everybody's in the dirty air back there, so there's no advantage.
Absolutely. All the racing action today kicks off at 5 o'clock Central Time on Fox Sports. Radio is on PRN, the Performance Racing Network. As always, if you're out and about and you don't have access to the PRN, you can always download the app. And MRN and PRN both offer their broadcasts absolutely free on their smartphone and tablet app. So you can listen to the race anywhere you go. And for dollars to donuts, and thanks. We got donuts in the studio today. So that was a nice little bit. But, dollars to donuts, I think MRN and PRN are the best way to enjoy a race. I still think that Fox is one of the worst broadcast partners NASCAR could hope for. And unfortunately, they've signed an extension through 2020-something. And hopefully NBC is able to step up the game and really kind of bring some actual broadcasting to it, because that Fox is just terrible. You and I sat in that, and I must have sounded like a whiny old woman sitting in the hotel room that night complaining about Darrell Waltrip and everything that he does wrong.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
You're getting pretty used to it by now. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. We'll talk with Ron Capps about the NHRA Kansas Nationals. Turn 3, we'll talk with Cody Ledger. And turn 4, we may have an appearance from Smokin' Joe Koziski. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
You wanted the best? They're coming for Brest. It's the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. The premier winged warriors battle it out. The World of Outlaw Superstars. It's the greatest show on dirt. The World of Outlaw Sprint Cars are returning to I-80 Speedway for the Napa Auto Parts Outlaw Showdown. Friday, June 5th. Buy your general admission ticket at participating Napa Auto Parts stores and receive $5 off. Order online at slspromotions.com. I-80 Speedway, Greenwood.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Koziski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Koziski Auto Parts. Koziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Koziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Koziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Koziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 2, brought to you by Koziski Auto Parts, online at Koziski.com. Quality used parts at an affordable price. Head down to 51st and I Street right here in Omaha and pick up your quality used part from one of the experienced salespeople down at Koziski Auto Parts. Koziski.com or 51st and I Street. Well, we're going to kind of change things up today. 90%, 99% of the time, we're talking circle track action, but the NHRA Kansas Nationals are today down in Topeka, Kansas. Although with the way the weather's been this week, I think we all wish we were in Topeka, Florida. But we're going to talk to Ron Capps, driver of the Napa Auto Parts Dodge Charger. Ron, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty good. And Ron, we kind of talked about off the air. I pulled in some of my resources to help me out with this interview because, as a lot of people know, I'm a circle track guy. I don't know much about driving straight. In fact, people on the interstate will attest to that. So I brought in Roadkill Jim Howe, good friend of the show and a contributor. Jim, how you doing this morning?
We're doing great.
All right. And Curtis Spracklin, who took over down at I-29 Speedway. Curtis?
Hello. Thank you very much.
All right, so Ron, that's the three of us. Now let's talk about you. How did you get started with driving drag strip cars?
Wow. Well, I mean, I grew up around it. My dad raced sort of a weekend warrior in a little town in California. We would spend all week. I would help him in the garage and get his car ready, and it was just like a bracket race, kind of a sportsman thing. And that's all I lived for as a kid was, hanging out with my dad in the garage and helping him work on his race car. And it just sort of blossomed from there. And, looking up to guys like Don the Snake Prudhomme and Don Schumacher and all the legends for me, I wanted to drive eventually, but I figured I didn't have a lot of money to bring or wealthy parents. So I learned how to work on them. And I figured if I worked on them long enough, I'd get a shot at driving if I showed interest. And luckily enough, a guy gave me that shot, and it just snowballed from there. Here I am.
Seems to have kind of worked out for you.
Yeah, it's funny. It's sort of an overnight success, but it only took about 30 years.
Was there a possibility of you racing anything else? Was it always going to be a drag car?
Oh, no. Shoot. It's, you talk about circle track and dirt racing, and I get to do that a lot now, which is cool, and I get to do a lot of cool dirt racing and other stuff, even NASCAR. I went and tested IROC when I was at Don Prudhomme's, and I've done a lot of some of the NASCAR late model, and I think it's Camp the World Series now. But a lot of the dirt racing, Tony Stewart's Prelude to the Dream. I've done a lot of stuff with a lot of the outlaw sprint guys. That was my love growing up, was dirt racing. The sprint cars and the midgets, things like that. And so finally to be able to, because of what I do now for a living, getting a shot at getting to hang out with guys like Tony Stewart and Casey Kane and Dan Lasowski and all those guys, to be able to go jump in a World of Outlaws car and make laps is something you just don't get to do. And running the Prelude to the Dream all those years, I was one of the few guys that got to run it every single year from the get-go, from its beginning. So that's been my love as dirt racing. I really love to do that, but I don't get to do it as much as I want. But, as a kid, I wanted to be Mario Andretti and race an Indy car. So I guess the love that I had hanging out with my dad at the drag strip, the Don Garlits, Big Daddy Don Garlits and Don Prudhomme's and all those, that was sort of, I guess, my initial dream in life. And it's funny how now I get to make a living at it.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Hey, this is Jimmy, and I was just a huge fan. Years ago I got involved with Napa here in town and brought him down to the track. And, of course, your involvement with Napa and everything, I followed very closely. And, I was really intrigued, and when I found out your age and things like that, you're a couple years older than me, and I just think the world of you. I love your sportsmanship, the way you deal with competition, and I think that's a huge part of the drag racing atmosphere right now, whether it's grassroots or the competition level that you're on in the pros. And I just had a couple questions, for you. And, we're down from around this area. We're not too far from Heartland Park. And with all the political controversy with Heartland Park and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot of people in the stands. As always, every year when you come this way, there's that rain factor. You worry about the rain factor. Of course, the wind, the crosswinds going down that track, things like that. And not to get in your head too much, but I just kind of, are you pretty prepared for some diverse weather conditions this weekend and ready to rock the house?
Well, it's funny because we're here in Heartland Park this weekend, and all the controversy about it being closed. We've heard tracks, with this threat, sort of over the years of each time we go. And when it came up at Heartland Park, I was devastated because it's one of my favorite places to go, and I've got some great memories of some great wins throughout the years I've driven there. And people fail to realize, especially people newer to the sport, that race when I first built that track, we held a race 2 times a year there, and not just that, but those first few years, and really probably more than a few years, that track held and then was probably rebroken every time we went there, but it held every national speed and ET record every time we went back there. It was that good, and still that good. And that town, if you look at the evolution of that track from when it was built, and you look at the hotels and the restaurants that were there compared to now, such a huge difference. We bring in just a huge amount of revenue and a lot of money to that city when we come into town. It's only once a year, and I've always bragged about that being one of the favorite tracks for me, because you roll into town and every newspaper, every TV station starts off with their news, and not just sports, but the headline, every news station, every newspaper, the headline in the front of the paper is about the drag races that weekend. It's like the Super Bowl comes to town, and that's big. And so I think it would be a travesty to lose that race, first of all. But there would be so many jobs and so many businesses closed because of the revenue lost, really from us not coming. Somebody's going to step up. That race, believe me, will not go away. It's such a nice facility, and it's Memorial Day weekend. It's campers, people taking vacations. And then on top of that, you got the NHRA 320-mile-per-hour nitro cars. So it's a pretty good weekend if you can if you want to do it.
That's a good transition. You mentioned that those 320-mile-an-hour cars. I'm reading some information on you, and I believe the fastest you have gone is 320.89. Is there a certain point that you don't even notice that you're going much faster than before? I mean, is there like a threshold to be able to notice how fast you're going?
Well, in the quarter mile, we went 333, I think. And that sort of got your attention in the shutdown area. And when we went to 1,000 foot, a lot of the old-time fans got really upset at NHRA, but they have to realize it's not the speed, because, trust me, I would love to go 400 miles per hour. It's shutting down and closing, getting off the track and stopping these cars. So it's not the speed. It's just a matter of saving lives and being able to slow down from 340 miles per hour. So, yeah, you do. To answer your question, in a car, the difference between 300 and 320, mainly for me anyway, it's been when the chutes hit, you kind of tell how hard they hit. And you really get your attention on if it tries to shove you out the front windshield, that hard, when you hit the chutes, it was a pretty good run. So the negative G's are probably what tells you how good a speed you're running.
Wow, that's interesting. We're talking with Ron Capps, driver of the Napa Auto Parts Dodge Charger, who you can see today racing in the NHRA Funny Cars and for the the Heartland Park NHRA Kansas Nationals. Ron, a lot of stuff going on today, and I mean it's filled from when we get off the air at 9 a.m. all the way up until your final event is over with at about 3:45. Is it just a blur when these days are going on for you guys because there's just so much going on?
Yeah, if you follow my Twitter or my Facebook fan page or any of that, I'm pretty active on it, and that's usually how fans and really a lot of my family sort of keep up with what I'm doing. It's mayhem, and it's the easy part's getting in the car and driving. It's all the other stuff that goes along with it. It really is. Yeah. And when you have a sponsor like Napa Auto Parts, it's cool because I really get to go out and sort of hang out with a lot of the fans at these grand openings and store openings. And, I was just up at Lincoln not too long ago. We're doing a couple in that area, a couple appearances that we did in Fremont and Lincoln. That's the fun part. But getting to the track and all the PR stuff, you're pulled in so many directions by all of our PR people and the NHRA people. The fans are out there, and you can't certainly walk away from the fans when it doesn't matter whether you got a radio show to do or not, but you have to sort of pace yourself. And believe me, the day flies by so fast. Sometimes you make 2 runs in a car and you get back to the hotel and it seems like the day flew by in 5 minutes. So there's a lot going on. And unfortunately, we get so busy, sometimes we don't have too much time for the fans. And that's sort of the fun part, is to hang out and sign autographs and take pictures.
Is there different characteristics to a track that you have to pay attention to? Like you talk about, you're going down for your final day of the NHRA Kansas Nationals today. So is there characteristics to that concrete, that asphalt, that the way that's set up that you have to make sure and pay attention to for your car?
Yeah. In fact, you and I are talking here now, and we're in Topeka. I mean, every lane's a little bit different of every racetrack, and sometimes you have to be refreshed. Like we came here to Topeka and we started qualifying, and you're just refreshed of little bumps or little things that have characteristics in each lane. And it's funny, even, people that are good friends of mine that may not have been to a lot of drag races, they are under the assumption it's just 2 lanes, and they're always the same 2 lanes at every track. It's just, and it's so wrong. And I think that what makes it cool is you get some tracks that have certain little quirks to them, little bumps here and there. It's funny to have a crew chief to, go over to tell me, hey, there's a slight bump about 400 feet out. If you can kind of veer to the right a little bit of that, and then maybe bring it back to the middle and then not hit the bump on the inside of the lane at 800 feet. And I sort of laugh at him every time he does that, because I'm like, dude, I got this little steering wheel in my hand and I'm going like 8,000 miles per hour, and the front end's probably not even on the ground, so I'll do my best.
Yeah, it probably wants to go where it wants to go.
And what's even funnier is I'll go out there and I'll actually do what he says, and he'll come back to the trailer and say, that was an awesome job. And I'm not even sure that I meant to do what I did, but somehow it always works out.
And you'll take credit for it. Oh, yeah, of course I meant to do that, of course.
Yeah, I didn't put my blinker on. That was the only thing I did wrong.
What's been your scariest moment driving in a NHRA funny car?
Well, probably the scariest was Atlanta, the Commerce track there in Atlanta about, I'm not sure what year it was, but Tommy Johnson was my teammate, and I ran one of his skull bodies on our car because we'd had a problem. And it was quarter-mile racing. I think we'd run pretty good in the qualifying, but the body shifted right at the finish line, and it hung the throttle open. And my crew chief at the time, Ed McCulloch, had looked at the computer, and I think I was going like 340-something miles per hour when I had to reach over and hit the fuel shutoff to actually explode the engine and shut it off. And that was scary. I couldn't get the throttle undone, and I was just picking up more speed, and I knew that shutdown area had a lot of trees and not such a great area of guardrail. And I had all these thoughts going through my mind. I really thought that was the time that I might not make it through a bad accident. And luckily enough, they show a video that shows sometimes that I ended up putting, thanks to my dirt track experience, I ended up getting the car blown up, so the engine quit running, and then I put it into a slide as if I was driving a non-wing sprint car. And I sort of backed it into and didn't hit the wall, but I threw it sideways and somehow didn't flip it over. And that was probably my scariest moment ever.
How do you blow up an engine? I'm curious about that. Listen, I've done it on accident a couple of times, but how do you do it on purpose? Is there a switch or something?
You
in the
reach
car?
over. I have a lever on my left side that I use to stage, and when I stage, I turn the fuel pumps all the way on, and it goes from about 50 gallons to almost 100 gallons a minute of fuel that goes in. So when I reach over and hit that off, it goes from 110 gallons a minute to nothing. And when the engine's wide open RPM and you take that much fuel away from a nitro engine, it becomes a bomb.
Wow.
And it quits running pretty quick.
Huh. Interesting. That's something else. All right.
Not the best way, but when you're seeing your life flash before your eyes, it's it's your ultimate last resort.
It's a good option to have. What's been your best moment in a funny car?
Man, well, that's a good question, and you think I'd have an answer in the chamber for that.
It's going to be today when you win the NHRA Kansas Nationals, right?
Yeah, it would be good. Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I've had so many, winning the Bud shootouts were great. Even waking up Sunday morning, Pomona, a bunch of times with a chance to win a championship, even though we fell short and finished second. Those are all great mornings. I don't know. I don't know how to answer. I don't think I have one.
Well, that's okay. Well, you've had a pretty great career, so we'll just take it as a couple of great moments then.
I would say one of your best moments would be the day that you got the opportunity to drive that funny car.
Well, I got some pretty cool phone calls. The time that Don Perdone called me and asked to drive his funny car, and I hung up on him because I thought it was a buddy playing a joke.
Oh, my goodness.
That was probably awesome. That was one of the cooler moments, yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Almost slipped away.
Almost.
And the funny
thing
is, I don't know how many people I've talked to. Everybody who is in the racing world and is trying to make it, they must have had a buddy. Everybody has a buddy that's pranked them with that one, because everybody I've talked to, a lot of people I've talked to, said the same thing. When a big person was calling me to come race for him, I thought it was my buddy pranking me.
Yeah, especially Don Perdone, because you can sort of do an imitation of him. Everybody in the sport that's been around him has a pretty good imitation of him. And so it's not that hard, and I just thought it was somebody sort of playing a joke on me, and luckily enough, he called back, and that was probably one of the better phone calls I ever got.
Ron Capps, man, we appreciate you joining us and giving a little education to us on how this the whole funny car thing works. You can catch Ron today in Topeka, Kansas for the NHRA Kansas Nationals. Everything kicks off at about 9 a.m. There's racing action all day long. You're not going to miss out. If you're not down there already, go ahead and make your way down there. I know Jim's going to be down there.
Oh, yeah.
And Curtis will probably be down there. We'll be rooting you on, big guy. Thanks a lot for joining us.
You got it. ESPN2 tonight. Check it out.
All right, we'll see you. Thank you.
You got it.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you joining us in the studio. Jimmy, quick plug. You're working hard down at Tuffy's, man. You're going crazy
I am.
busy.
I enjoyed my 10 years down there at the racetrack. I had a good time and for the most part, very positive experience. Kept the thing open, did what I needed to do, handed the track over to some people that are very passionate. We got some volunteers, and we got a good track manager right there. The Reagans stepped up, and several of the others to keep that track up and going, and we're very proud of our track. And, I'm over here at Tuffy's on Cornhusker. If anybody needs anything, I'm always good for some free advice or whatever. And we're proud supporters of the drag race community as well as road course community as well. We even like stock car guys.
Hey,
you know that. I like those Kazicki boys. You know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we love it. And you, by the way, you're the one that did all the construction work down there at I-80 Speedway this year.
Well, you know what? Joe got a hold of me, and he said, Jim, we need to get this thing running and flowing better. And he put me in the concession stand. He knows I know the business, and he let me go wild with his plans in the concession stand and improve it so the flow's better. He did the number one thing you need to do as a promoter, and that's take care of the fans. Mm-hmm. You get in and out of concessions quick. Everything's hot, warm. The cold stuff's cold, and you don't have to wait around for a beer or a pop. And Joe, he sunk a little money in there, and I was pretty impressed with the fact that they got that facility, to flow as good as they did. Yeah,
you're going to notice it big tonight for the Charlie Clark Memorial when there's a couple thousand people out there, and you don't have to wait in line for the Nebraska's Best Pork Tenderloin Sandwich. And you're really going to notice it during the Silver Dollar Nationals when there's probably about 25,000 people that go through that 3-day weekend. I mean, it's insane. And Curtis, appreciate you joining us, man. Kind of helping me out with doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'd like to say I enjoyed the conversation there with Ron Capps and the Napa Know-How.
Yeah.
Obviously, Napa is our biggest sponsor at I-29 Dragway, so I want to put a shout-out to a thank you from Napa. And if I could put a couple plugs in at the drag strip.
Have at it.
We have that Heads Up No Prep race coming June 19th. It's only $5 to get in and watch, and I just signed a deal with a local boy, Mick McCormick, Miss L, in his jet dragster. Mm-hmm. Free exhibition for everybody. I shouldn't say free, only $5.
Okay.
And he's also going to be doing a show on July 11th on our fireworks night as well.
All right, well, make sure we'll keep in touch so we can get you back on the show and promote that real good. So, hey, that's some great English, huh? Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. We'll be back in turn number 3, and we have Cody Ledger, Code Red, Cody Ledger, who's going to be racing tonight at I-80 Speedway for the Charlie Clark Memorial as a part of the Nebraska 360s. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
You wanted the best? They're coming for Brest. It's the world of outlaw sprint cars. The premier winged warriors battle it out. The world of outlaw superstars. It's the greatest show on dirt. The world of outlaw sprint cars are returning to I-80 Speedway for the Napa Auto Parts Outlaw Showdown. Friday, June 5th. Buy your general admission ticket at participating Napa Auto Parts stores and receive $5 off. Order online at slspromotions.com. I-80 Speedway, Greenwood.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 3, brought to you by the World of Outlaws. Coming to I-80 Speedway June 5th. Tickets are on sale at slspromotions.com, or you can pick up your tickets if you bring a proof of purchase from any Napa Auto Parts dealer to the ticket window, you get $5 off your admission June 5th at I-80 Speedway as the SLS presents the World of Outlaws coming up June 5th. Going to be a great race, and a driver that maybe in a year or two, a couple more years, will be racing those 410s and in the World of Outlaws for a full-time series. Talking with Code Red, Cody Ledger. How you doing, sir?
Not too bad.
Cody, how'd you get that nickname, Code Red?
Actually, that's a good question. My dad actually started calling me that for some reason when I was running junior sprints, and really there is no explanation about it.
It just kind of goes well with Code Red or Cody Ledger, so...
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny. My dad started calling me that. Then the Mountain Dew Code Red came out, so we should trademark that.
Were you a fan of that, or...?
Yeah, actually, when I was younger, I drank it quite a bit, but I'm not a big pop drinker anymore.
Are you kind of a hothead like Kyle Busch or a Sammy Swindell, or are you kind of a cool cat?
I just kind of like brush things over, you know.
Yeah.
I don't like the confrontation as much as most people do.
So it's not a temper thing is the reason why he named you Code Red.
No.
Weren't spilling a lot of blood, is what you're saying.
No.
That's really good. All right, man. Talk about how your whole career got started. I think you were one of the guys that was racing out at Little Sunset Speedway and go-karts and kind of made your way up through the ranks.
Actually, no. I started with four-wheelers and motorcycles at the age of 4.
Okay.
Then kind of got hurt on that a little too often, so then my dad decided we'll just go run junior sprints at Waverly. We ran those for a few years and ended up winning a national championship in 2005 and won a few regional championships and quite a few track championships. Then 2006 we ran restrictor for a few years. Then around 2009 we hopped into multi-class and just kind of went around everywhere we wanted to go, where the money was and where the competition was in Nebraska.
And from there, you've made your way up through the ranks, and now you're racing primarily 360s?
Yes, yep. We do have a midget that we did play around with once in a while a few years ago, but with the Nebraska 360 stuff being so competitive that you have to be on your game every night out there, and you can't have another driving style. You just got to have a wing car style.
Yeah, does it get confusing switching between styles of driving?
It just depends on the type of track and how big the track is, whether you drive the midget straight like a sprint car or do you throw it in like a non-wing sprint car.
How many years you been in the sprints than the full-size cars?
In the full-size cars, I think this is our 3.5 years. We only ran a half a year when we first started. It's our third full season with Nebraska 360s.
Was that your first win?
Yep.
Couple weeks ago?
Yeah, first win, first sprint car win in general.
Wow, that was a heck of a win. I try not to play favoritism, but I really enjoy watching Jack Dover race. I think he's one of the best when it comes to racing in I-80. And I was sitting in the announcer's booth with Stan Caesar as he was starting to call that race a couple of weeks ago at I-80 Speedway. And as soon as I think Jack started inside row 2, green flag drops, lap later, Jack's got the lead. And I thought, well, that's it. I started packing up all my equipment, and all of a sudden Stan's over there freaking out because here comes Code Red, Cody Ledger, and you sucked right up to the back of him, and then you took your time, waited a couple laps, and lap traffic got in the way, and you were able to get by him and just start putting distance on him.
Yeah, early in the heat race, we didn't feel we were that fast to be up there and running with Jack and Jordan, who ended up going 1-2 in their heat race. So we were kind of figuring on a second to third place finish would be a great night for us. Well, when the feature comes around, we started 8th. We drew the last pill job we absolutely could, and got around the first couple cars pretty easily. Then we ended up getting top 5. Then I started picking cars off one at a time. Then all of a sudden I knew as I was behind Jack and Jordan in third place, and we hit some lap traffic, ended up catching them. Then got around Jordan, did a slide job for Jordan, and then was racing Jack for a few times and got up behind Jack and ended up getting too tight, get the air off the nose wing, ended up pushing to the fence, allowed Jack to get out a couple car lengths in front of me. A couple laps later, we ended up bringing Jack back in and getting around him on the inside.
A heck of a race you ran, too. It seemed, from my angle, that you were kind of you weren't really pushing the subject, just nice and easy going around the track. And when you got up to the back of Jack, you waited for the right kind of time to get by him. Yeah,
the track, Jack, you had to hit your marks just perfect and pull a slider, especially with Jack, who's done this numerous of years and has lots of wins at I-80. That's his big track. He pretty much owns that track for 360 racing right now.
And somebody go-tos to the well, I think, here in conversations afterwards that you've kind of worked with Jack and Jack's worked with you to kind of help you around?
Yeah, for when we first started with sprint cars, Jack was the first one there, helping us out, telling us what we need to do, telling what our setup should be, and just getting us around the racetrack to be safe first.
And from what I understand, Jack talking later on that night, sounds like that help may dry up now.
Yeah, he said he was happy for us. He was real excited, but mad.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Is Jack? Anytime a racer gets second, they're not happy.
Yeah.
And his exact comment was, "Well, I guess you're competition now."
So it's going to get a little bit harder, but it looks like you're taking on to it well. What's the future lay in for you? Are you happy with the 360s? Are you wanting to go up to maybe race the NSL 410s next year, the following year? What's the plan for you?
I feel like there's competition whether you're in the 360s or the 410s. The 410s is a huge jump for power-wise and car-wise. And there's more racing within the Nebraska 360s and the 360s in general, just in the Midwest with different series.
Was your dad always a racer?
Yes, actually, he never ran sprint cars. My Uncle Terry did, but my dad always ran flat track four-wheelers at Waverly and also did some micro sprints.
I've never seen a flat track four-wheel race.
They're interesting.
Do they still have them?
Not around here that I know of. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
They used to race them at the Chili Bowl every year.
Did you ever race them?
No. I did motocross. That was about it. That was dangerous enough.
Did you ever get really hurt doing that motocross?
I never broke a bone or anything, but I had a few concussions and other bad accidents.
Enough that even at your age, you're like, okay, let's find something with maybe a cage around me.
More my mom than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, mom's a nurse.
Yeah, my mom works at Methodist Hospital, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to have in the family because, you can get checked out in the hauler and not have to pay for anything.
Yeah, fortunately, she's not that kind of nurse. She's a reproductive specialist. We'll end it there.
Well, hopefully she doesn't have to check you out for that then.
Yes. That's the plan.
So if you got your opportunity to go up and race 410s, that's a lot more money racing those things, but it seems like the NSL is really doing it right where there's a lot of contingency money available for you guys to win if you're racing that full series.
Yes, there is, but you have to run a certain amount of races where if we did buy a 410, we only could afford one, and to blow that up, our season would be done, if not for 2 seasons for the 410.
And Stan Caesar told me you got to send those 410s to get refreshing twice a year as opposed to a 360 probably just once a year.
Oh, yeah, you go maybe like 10 to 12 shows at the most.
Wow, that is an insane. What's cost to get an engine refreshed?
Honestly, I wouldn't know.
You haven't had to worry about that yet?
Probably 12 to 15 grand, just depending on what had to be done.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh,
now if you're talking about that's just a rebuild.
Refresh.
Yes, a refresh.
Yeah.
A rebuild can be 20 to 25.
Jesus, man, alive. Is there anything on the horizon that these guys can do? You're talking to the guys down at Nebraska 360, talk to Dennis Lark, talk to Dennis Parker. What can these guys do to help you guys out with some contingency money? Any ideas you got?
I mean, what we have right now is great. We're getting, $1,000 to win and another $200 for a gift certificate from Speedway, which helps us out a lot. Then we got my ESI, who does a podium lottery, 2 through 5. The winner draws that number, and they get an extra, I think, $300.
Wow.
Then Select Auto Body, they do the Hard Charger Award, I think, which is another $200 or $300. So whatever little bit we get helps a lot.
You ever won that ESI money?
My dad has.
His dad and his uncle own ESI.
Right. I was sitting there with Stan when they were talking about that the first race of the year. So you're coming up racing tonight. What should take me through a race day for you? When do you get to the track? When do you kind of get into gear and get your mindset? What's your process?
Well, normally I just I like to get a good night's sleep. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But just depending on what track we're going to, depends what time we leave. Like this Sunday, we're at I-80. We'll probably leave around 2 o'clock. We'll get there, get our spot. We'll get tires rolled out, get the car ready, get shocks, get the wing set. Then you just kind of wait there until your hot laps comes out. When hot lap comes up, you hot lap. Then you get ready for your heat race. By the time then you're starting to tighten things up, making adjustments, looking at who your competition is. You're always constantly adjusting the car to make it tighter and tighter.
Do you like to talk to people before races, or are you kind of leave me alone? I need to get in my zone.
Yes and no. I mean, if somebody will come and talk to me, I'll talk to them forever. But I'm not one of the person that'll just come up and start a conversation.
Yeah. How old are you?
19. Just turned 19, April 25th.
Wow. How happy birthday just a couple weeks ago.
Yes, thank you.
And not too far off your birthday then, right? When you got that first win.
No, it wasn't. It would have been a little better if we were able to run the 25th, which would have been at, actually it was April 24th. Whoops. But we were supposed to run at Knoxville. That would have been even better to win a Knoxville.
That would have been huge.
Oh yeah, which we've been struggling there, so we're planning on running there quite often.
Got yourself a girlfriend?
Yes.
Do you?
Yep.
Okay, I won't talk about what happened in the pits that night then. I'm just kidding.
Dad let you have a beer to celebrate?
No, I'm not much of a drinker.
Yet?
Yeah, 19, so.
Definitely ain't no chip off the old block.
Your dad seems like a really fun guy, and somebody that I think has enjoyed a couple of beers in his day. He seems like kind of a fun party guy.
Oh yeah, he's fun without the beers. You start getting some beer in him, he's a hoot.
Yeah, I'll bet so. Cody Ledger, Code Red, Cody Ledger. What's your season look like this year? Where are you going to race? Some big races, some big specials?
We were running all the Nebraska 360 stuff. We do have some ASCS Warrior and some NCRA. And we do plan on running the Knoxville 360 Nationals later in the year, earlier in August. That's about the biggest show we'll run.
Okay, but are you running the Fall Brawl?
Yes, we will run the Fall.
Got to run the Fall Brawl.
Yep.
Got to get a chance to win that big money.
No, actually, I think this year the Fall Brawl might be a 410 race, so we might be out of that one.
Oh,
it's an NSL race.
That is true. Well, get yourself a 410 and run it that one time.
Actually, I think one of the nights in the 360s are running with them.
Yeah,
if I'm correct.
You're right. I think that first night is a Nebraska 360 race. Boy, you think the announcer of the track would know what was going on, but I guess he doesn't. Code Red, Cody Ledger joining us on the front stretch. Man, best of luck to you. If you got an opportunity to go up and race in NASCAR, would you take it, or are you kind of one of those guys that's happy racing on a dirt track?
I'll take whatever opportunity comes to me. It don't matter if it's a four-wheeler, motorcycle. I'll go run a micro sprint, which I had a few times. I did one last year. Mm-hmm. It don't matter what it is, stock car, pavement, dirt. I'll run it.
Yeah, see, there's some guys like Sammy Swindell who I was really interested to talk to about that, and he said that he's raced in NASCAR. He did that for a little while, but he just prefers to be down in dirt and racing the dirt track and doing that kind of stuff. So, and that you'll take anything you can get.
Oh yeah.
Would you? Is there anything you wouldn't race?
Probably a drag car.
Really?
Yep.
We just got done talking to Ron Capps. You don't mean to set that up for you?
No, I'm good.
I think we should get what would it be like to get a sprint car? Get your sprint car down there at I-29 Dragway.
That'd be pretty tough, considering that we have to be push started.
Why can't we get starters in those things?
Oh, you can.
Well, you can, but it's not traditional sprint cars.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but we got to move the change. Change with the times. It could get a little bit dragging sometimes when you guys are out there wrecking, and we got to keep push starting you.
Lakeside ran a class like that a couple of years ago. They had sprint cars with starters.
Like the IMCA.
You know what? I got a solution to the problem. We'll get I-29 to hook up something like those catapults that launch aircraft off of aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
We'll set you up one of those. That way you get you a good push start and you can go.
Put the Knoxville gear in.
There you go. That'll do it. All right. Code Red, Cody Ledger. How can people track you on Facebook?
Under my name, Cody Ledger, and we also have a Facebook racing page under Cody Ledger Racing.
All right, man. Best of luck today at I-80 Speedway for the Nebraska 360 Sprint Cars, and best of luck for your season to come, man. Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back on the front stretch to wrap it all up.
You wanted the best? They're coming for Brest. It's the world of outlaw sprint cars. The premier winged warriors battle it out. The world of outlaw superstars. It's the greatest show on dirt. The world of outlaw sprint cars are returning to I-80 Speedway for the Napa Auto Parts Outlaw Showdown. Friday, June 5th. Buy your general admission ticket at participating Napa Auto Parts stores and receive $5 off. Order online at slspromotions.com. I-80 Speedway, Greenwood.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up. We're heading into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch. All of the racing action today can be caught on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, except for the Charlie Clark Memorial. That you have to do in person. Now, the Indianapolis 500 today will be on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube. The Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte will be on the big screen. And then ESPN 2 at about 10 o'clock is when they're going to replay the Kansas Nationals. So you'll get about an hour of that in there. Actually, I think Quaker Steak closes at 10 on Sunday. So You'll have to catch that from your couch this afternoon or tonight. But all the racing action can be caught on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. Again, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Earlier this week, the 2015 NASCAR Hall of Fame inductees were announced, and I want to get a quick thought from Dirk. Dirk obviously used to be an official for the series, so you probably met some of these guys. You watched a lot of them race.
I've met some of the nominees, some of the guys that, like Curtis Turner, who was elected, was racing long before I was, anywhere close to being an official. Same with Isaacs. His career was basically 4 years, from like 68 to 72. Mm-hmm. That's why, even though he won a championship, I was really surprised to have him in there. Now, Terry Labonte got in, but 2 championships, and
I think very deserving of that.
Yeah, but I don't know what those other guys that were in there, if he should have been.
Yeah, Bruton Smith was the one that I'm the least surprised about. Bruton, not obviously known as a driver, he's a track owner and a promoter, and he's quite frankly been one of the guys behind the scenes that has made NASCAR what it is. And as much as we have to kind of put up with him in his older age nowadays, he was a huge benefit to NASCAR back in the day, and he still is. I'm not, he's one of those guys that I was listening to a Legends conversation that Dave Moody did with him, and he had one of the simplest yet smartest approaches when it came to running a facility. And he said, when we opened up Bristol, my number one absolute must is the female bathrooms must be clean. Brilliant. You don't think of it, but like he said, as long as the women want to come to the racetrack, then the guys can come to the racetrack, because they're going to decide where the guys are going to go. And women don't want to go to some dirty racetrack with a stinky, smelly bathroom, so they kept it well-stocked, smelling well, very clean, and that's probably not the reason why the track has been successful, but I think that's added to the success of the track, and a brilliant thought process.
Well, one thing he's done is just like he did with Bristol. After he bought Bristol, he upgraded the drag strip that was there. He put a drag strip in Vegas. He put a 4-wide drag strip in Charlotte.
Wow.
And when he first went to the I don't know if city council or the county or whoever he had to go to there to get that done, and they denied him. He said, okay, we're closing Speedway. Thanks. We'll see you later.
And that's kind of the way Bruton is. He's got the power to use his influence, and he's going to use it when he needs to. And I think that's one of the things, I kind of made a comment about it when they were announcing it on Wednesday night to you, that Bruton holds a lot of power with the tracks that he owns. And that's one of the things that NASCAR's kind of in a bit of a pickle with, is if there's a racetrack that isn't successful, it's almost impossible to get rid of it, because there's ISC that Bruton owns, which is, I believe, 12 tracks.
ISC is International Speedway Corporation. That's owned by the NASCAR people.
Okay. So Bruton owns 12 tracks.
Speedway Motors.
Right, okay. And then there's another corporation that owns several of the tracks. The two of them basically own the entire NASCAR schedule.
Correct.
If NASCAR makes them mad, they've got the ability to just what Bruton, I can pull out and say, you're not getting into my tracks. Now, it's going to hurt his bottom dollar, but Bruton's a millionaire. He doesn't have to care anymore. And I think that's probably a discussion for another time, but it's a route that NASCAR is going to have to be really careful of if we're going to make some major changes to the schedule and kind of shake things up a little bit for the next few years.
And just like Rick Hendrick, he's made all his money selling cars.
Right. Texas Terry Labonte, I agree with you. I'm not surprised he got in. I'm kind of surprised he got in at this point. There's a lot of really good candidates in this year's nomination field. I was kind of surprised at some of the candidates that they got in this year. Mark Martin didn't make it in this year. Let me get to the full list of nominees. But Mark Martin didn't make it in this year. Rick Hendrick didn't make it in. Let's see, Robert Yates.
Alan Kowicki.
Right. I thought Alan would be a shoot. I mean, Alan was kind of a revolutionary with a single car organization going out and winning a Sprint Cup Series championship.
Well, back then, in the early 90s and late 80s, there were a few of those, but he was still, he'd have won a lot more championships and a lot more races if he hadn't tragically lost his life. Larry Phillips, who, when you get down to the grassroots level, I think had 5 national championships in the weekly series. And won thousands of races.
Yeah. Jerry Cook, Bobby Isaac, Terry Labonte, Bruton Smith, and Curtis Turner are your induction Hall of Famers for 2015. So those, I believe those ceremonies go on during Speed Weeks next year.
I think they said January 16th when I was watching that.
All right. Big day of racing for you today. Like I talked about, the Indianapolis 500. Joseph Newgarden, who is a friend of the show, we're working on getting him back on the show next weekend to talk about his time at the Indy 500, getting him kind of prepped for the Indy race at I-80 Speedway. We're going to try to get him on. He'll be racing today, and hopefully, I hate to say this to kind of jinx people, but God, it makes you really nervous about these guys because there's an abnormal amount of cars going over at Indy.
We've got an Indy race at I-80 Speedway.
Did I say I-80 Speedway?
Yes, you did.
Iowa Speedway. Boy, an IndyCar race at I-80. I'm going to get Joe on the phone and see if we can make that happen. He was in my ear a couple of years ago, and he goes, "What do you think it would cost me to get a Cape World Truck Series race here? Let's get them IndyCars. That'd be interesting."
You better find out where Joe's at and send the ambulance so we don't have a heart attack laughing.
I apologize. Iowa Speedway. Iowa Speedway is where they're going to be. July 17th is when that race is, by the way. So should be a great weekend. And I wish I could be there, but unfortunately, we'll be enjoying the Silver Dollar Nationals. But so we'll have Joseph Newgarden on the show next weekend. And then we're also working on getting a World of Outlaw Series racer. They're going to be at June 5th at I-80 Speedway and then June 12th at Crawford County Speedway. That's going to be interesting to see those 410s at Crawford County Speedway. And tickets are available now at slspromotions.com. But we're going to get a World of Outlaw driver. Usually we get a top 5 points getter in the series. Well, maybe, I don't know who we're going to get, but we'll get somebody, and they'll be worth your while to kind of listen to it and have a little conversation with us. But that'll be next weekend's show. I started to talk about, boy, I'm kind of all over the place today. That sugar donuts that Jim Howe brought in for me is really kicking in. Racing action today, the Indianapolis 500 kicks it all off, and then the NHRA Kansas Nationals are going on today, and then they'll be broadcast later tonight, and then the Charlie Clark Memorial at I-80 and the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. If you are a part of the Pick'ems contest, make sure you get your picks in, and let's do it all again next weekend, Dirk.
I guess that sounds like a plan.
We hope to see you next weekend. Joseph Newgarden and a World of Outlaw driver will join us. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.